What happens if you don't consciously continue to grow? What happens if you don't quit? If you don't give up, if you don't die inside and you keep pushing yourself, you're going to grow. You'll go on the journey of growth, and what is that journey? It's a call. It's always a call. The quicker you answer that call, the quicker the pain disappears. Because suffering is the pain. The physical pain, that's only for the moment. The instant you change your focus, the pain goes. You can be in physical pain, we've all experienced this. Who's had that moment? Major physical pain, and then something else captures your total attention. Where's the pain? It's gone. We all get it. And right when we think we don't need it anymore, when we believe we've finally arrived, that's the ego. So what happens when you go on that journey? You enter uncertainty, and that uncertainty forces you to do something new, to think something new, to form a new belief. That's when we reach out and find new mentors, new friends. That's where the journey truly begins. And what do you do next? You slay the dragons. And when you do, you return home a hero, not with thoughts to share, but with experiences. Progress is happiness. If you can make progress in anything, you don't have to have arrived. Think about it. When you finally get there, how long does the feeling last? You feel great, but for how long? A minute, a month, a year, 6 years, 10? Hardly ever. For most people, somewhere between 6 hours and maybe 6 months. Usually 6 weeks at best, because we're called to grow again. And when you think about your life, look at the stages. In your 20s, it's a stressful time, but an exciting one. You think you're invincible because you have no real sense of age or stage. You believe you'll be president of the United States, a multi-billionaire, have 100 relationships at once, and everyone's going to love it. Then you hit your 30s. For most, that's the most stressful period. 30s to early 40s, sometimes mid-40s. The reason? Everyone's different, but the racetrack of life is the same. Everyone ages. Every age, every stage, every value system, you see it all. The one common denominator among people who come here is this: they want to grow. They come because they're in pain and want to escape it, or because they have pleasure and want more of it. Between 35 and 55 is when most people experience their most expansive growth. Somewhere in that range, people wake up and realize, I've got to go for it. Growth and giving, that's the cycle. You grow, you conquer the dragons, you gain more to share, more to give, and then the next challenge appears. But now you can become the one driving your growth. If you consciously decide what to do instead of waiting for things to happen, life becomes alive again. Because a life without growth is a dead life. Progress equals happiness. If we move backward out of a desire for comfort, chasing certainty, predictability, and consistency, we shrink instead of grow. And when that happens, it's only a matter of time before another big problem shows up to call us out of that comfort. Where's all your passion? It's in the realm of uncertainty. The quality of your life is in direct proportion to the amount of uncertainty you can comfortably live with. Not just survive, but comfortably live with. Because the more you need certainty, the more you need things to stay the same. But nothing in the world stays the same. You don't. They don't. The world doesn't. Any version of your story that says things aren't great, that's a lie. Things are magnificent. You're living your dream. The growth between 53 and 64 can be beyond imagination, because you think you're starting over. But when you tell yourself that, you're fooling yourself. You're not starting over. You're starting fresh, and what do you have now? All your life experience to draw from. You can do more with your pinky now than when you worked 24 hours a day. You have to remember that. Otherwise, you slip into the identity of a broken person, a wounded soul. That's nonsense. That's a slap in the face of your creator. You're so much more than that. Everyone in this room is so much more than that, and you clearly are. So many people go through cycles. You chase what you want to achieve, you push like crazy, you break through, and then at some point, often because you've succeeded, you start to question, is this right? Am I made for this? Is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Then one of two things happens. You either realize how great you have it and recommit for another cycle, 5, 6, 7 years, or you shift directions. Those cycles evolve over time because eventually, people realize life is not forever, at least not on this plane of existence, and with that awareness comes scarcity. How do you deal with that? Does it make you savor the moments more? To be with the people you love, to connect with your children on a deeper level? When I was in my 30s, I had mentors like Peter Guber and Steve Wynn, 18 years my senior. I admired and learned from them. I wanted to see the road ahead, While we're all different, there are certain patterns in life. I remember Peter in his 50s at the time telling me, "Tony, trust me on this. You're at the beginning of the beginning of the beginning." I said, "I know I've heard about that midlife crisis, but that'll never happen to me." When I turned 40, I got divorced. My kids weren't talking to me because I initiated the divorce. My finances were upside down. I had been the best in the world at what I did. I was very wealthy, and suddenly overnight I was paying someone a couple $1,000,000 a year before I even ate. Then I met a young woman, and a couple months later, we were together. We had almost nothing. It was brutal. Everything felt like it was over at 40. I also felt like I couldn't keep going at that same pace. I couldn't push that hard anymore. But there we were, everything else upside down. But this one thing, this love, was beautiful and solid. That's what helped me, and us, grow through those stages. From my early 50s to now, I've experienced the most growth and the deepest happiness of my life, beyond anything I could have dreamed. I'm living my greatest life right now, beyond anything I ever imagined. I'm living a blessed life. Yes, I've done my part, but I don't need another victory. I don't need another person to say, "Wow, thank you, you changed my life. I love it all, it's beautiful, but I don't need it." Everything is magnificent. When you start from that truth that everything is magnificent, then everything else becomes a game. The things that matter most aren't life or death anymore, because when you reach a certain stage, and many of you are there, you know who you are, you know what you stand for. People can take your things, but they can't take away who you've become. As a man, as a woman, you've accomplished, done, shared, and helped more than ever before. I've done more in the past few months than I can even remember doing in any 4-month period of my life. If I didn't use my RPM process, reviewing each week and capturing what happened, I couldn't even recall it all. Each week feels like the most amazing week imaginable, until the next one comes. So I hope you'll put life in perspective. Without perspective, you get trapped in the moment. It's great to live in the present, but sometimes you have to step back and see where you are on the racetrack of life. When something like cancer shows up, yes, it brings fear, but it can also become the greatest journey of your life. That's the true power of a diagnosis. It wakes you up. It wakes you to the miracle of this moment, to what you may have missed before. It's not just about treating the disease, it's about remembering and falling in love with living again. That's more profound than most ever realize. So as you enter these phases, each at different stages of life, know this: if you're in that 45 to 65 range, you're in the most powerful years of your life, financially, emotionally, physically. If you take care of yourself, it's a call. And the quicker you answer the call, the faster the pain disappears. There's no suffering when you're moving forward. You don't experience life. You experience the life you focus on. Whatever you focus on, that's what you feel. Your state changes the moment you change your focus. If I ask you what's magnificent in your life and you answer sincerely, you've already shifted. You've stacked meaning. One magnificent thought might fade, but if you think of another, and another, and another, your whole biochemistry changes. That's why I teach the emotional flood. That's exactly what you're doing, flooding yourself with what's good. When you make your life so stressful, you make it harder to solve. But it's all solvable. Every problem on this planet was created by humans, and what humans create, humans can solve. Every problem in your life was created by the decisions you made. But this person took advantage of me. Yes, but you invited them in. You brought them into your life for a lesson. Get the lesson and move on. Let go of the emotion. You have to create a compelling future. You can't live in the past. Learn from it and move on. Everything changes when you're willing to take action despite fear. Decisions made from fear are almost always the wrong decisions. Not always. Because fear sometimes serves us, but living in fear doesn't. Living in pain, in shame, absolutely not. If I looked at your life and asked, is there anything to be ashamed of? I'd say no. You're healing your family. You're creating a better life. You'll be a better parent because of what you've been through. So wake up. You're doing this because you're playing a game of either or. What have I always taught about decision making? Know your outcomes and have options, because one choice is no choice. Two choices is a dilemma. There are always at least three. You might not like them all.